Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Reshmi Mukherjee. We discuss over here ICC, ISC, CBSE, English literature and English language topics. As you know, we have already done a few topics from class 10 ICSE. We are going to continue with the topic The Elevator, which is written by William Sleater. It is for ICC class 10. Those who haven't followed the previous videos, do check the playlists, okay? Because from the playlist, you will get one after the other. You don't have to surf through unnecessary contents, because if you are a CBSE student, if you are an ICC student, you know which books you have, whether you have Hornbill, whether you have Treasure Chest or whatever book you have. So you know you have Treasure Chest, you know that the playlist name will be Treasure Chest. From there you will find all the content that is applicable for you. You have language papers as well, which is common to all. Almost everything is common, the grammar part. So for that you have a separate playlist named English language, but rest of it is completely the same. So we will continue with the elevator, and we will also see few pictures so that we can relate with the chapter over here. So the text will also come over here on your screen. You can use that, and I will also be reading, and you must sit with your book so that you can write the meanings of the difficult words over here. So the elevator, it was an old building with an old elevator, a very small elevator which could carry only 3 people. Okay, important points are over here. It can contain only 3 people. So from the picture as well, you can see it is a very contained space. It is a very small space where a lot many people are not cannot ride it. And moreover, the issue is when you come together, you're always huddled together. You cannot space out yourself. Okay, it is not a huge lift. Martin, a thin 12-year-old, felt nervous in it from the first day, and his father moved into the apartment. Of course, he was always uncomfortable in elevators, afraid that they would fall, but this one was especially unpleasant. So he had always this feeling that the elevator will crash somehow. But this one was even more problematic because it was very claustrophobic kind of a feeling inside the lift. Perhaps this was because of the poor lighting, the dirty walls. Perhaps it was because of the door, which never stayed open long enough and slammed shut with a loud clanging noise. Perhaps it was the way the elevator shuddered each time it left a floor, as if it was exhausted. Maybe it was simply too small. It seemed crowded even with only 2 people in it. So even if you have 2 people, it was crowded. So it was a very cramped space, very small space over there. Moreover, there were other reasons as well. Few reasons was that the lighting was not proper. Okay, people are huddled together, and there was a loud noise as many times the door used to close and open, and it used to stay open for a very short period of time. Like you have the escape time, which is just for a few seconds. It appeared to the boy like that this opening of the lift, opening of the elevator is kind of an escapade, is kind of a time where you can fly away, run away, escape. But that was for a very short period of time. That made this boy even more in a state of panic. Okay, he was always in a state of panic when he boarded the lift. Moving on to the next part, we see another picture which is talking about the lift. We have done discussion of the elevator. Now we will see why the boy is also facing difficulty in taking the staircase. What do we have? The stairs were no better. Martin tried them one day after school. There were no windows and the lights were not working. Martin's footsteps echoed behind him on the cement as though there was another person climbing, getting closer. By the time he reached his home on the 17th floor, he was gasping for breath. So we see that it was on the 17th floor where he stayed. Okay, so it is high. It was a high-rise building and it was very difficult. Imagine you are climbing 17th floor. It is very high. So it is difficult for him to climb. Second of all, the staircase as well was very not lit properly. There were not many lights. Okay, as you can see, it is very kind of a very scary sort of a feeling he had over here. And he always felt that there were some footsteps, like there were echoes. Okay, not many echoes. So that made him feel that somebody was following him from behind, like a ghost movie. So that also made him very afraid. So it was difficult for him to take the elevator. It was difficult for him to take the staircase. So you see that it was difficult for him to come back to his own home or get out of his own home. He was always in a state of fear. Okay, the fear is a very important element in your story. We will read about it in detail when we discuss the questions. We will discuss the themes. And over here, let's understand the chapter properly first. Next part, Martin's father worked at home. He wanted to know why Martin was out of breath. So one day when he just climbed up, he did not use the elevator. His father asked, "What is wrong with you? Why are you, panic? Why are you falling short of breath?" Okay. So he asked, frowning at Martin. So frowning at Martin is a hint that the father was not very friendly towards the son. "You are not only skinny and weak and bad at sports," his face seemed to say, "but you are also a coward." This tells us that the father and the son relationship was not good enough. Okay, the father always had a lot of expectations from the child, but the child is always feels afraid that he cannot keep up to that expectation. Okay, so he thinks that the father in his frown must be saying, "You are a coward, you are skinny, you are good for nothing fellow." Okay. After that, Martin always took the elevator. So he was afraid that his father would think him to be a coward. So I better take the elevator. Okay. He wanted to face his fear. But the problem is, you have to know why you are afraid and you have to find out a route. You have to find out an answer for it. If you just head on with your eyes closed want to face fear, you'll of course fall, right? And there was nobody else who could help the boy to overcome that fear. We have no mention of the mother. The father is not a proper guardian at all. He would have to get used to it, he told himself, just like he got used to being bullied at school. So he was also having a very bad time in school. The other boys used to bully him, maybe because he was a little slow, maybe because he was a little shy. The boys used to bully him. So he had a bad school, he had a bad parent, he had, not a bad parent, you should not write like that. He had a, not quite aware, okay, unaware of certain things, ignorant parent, you can say. And then again, he had this fear that he had to battle all by himself. Okay. So we can see how difficult a situation can be for this little boy. Next. But he did not get used to it. So I told you, you have to find an answer to your problem. If you just keep on solving mathematical questions without knowing how to solve it, x equals to question mark will remain a question mark, right? But he did not get used to it. He was always afraid that it would stop suddenly and he would be trapped inside it for hours by himself. But it wasn't much better when there were other passengers. He did not like to be close to them. He also disliked the way people tried hard not to look at one another, staring at nothing. They were not looking at one another. They were just looking like we are very unsocial. We have become very unsocial, right? After the COVID, you found how when you went back to school, you even felt shy in facing the teacher and facing your friends, wishing them a good morning or a goodbye, something like that, or a thank you. Because we became very unsocial when we were locked back in our homes, right? When we were there in the during the COVID, right? We did not meet anybody, so we became very unsocial. And the world now has become like that. We no more wish each other anything. We are just all by ourselves. We have a lot many Facebook friends who are not even real. Okay, so we have that world for us and we are always busy with that. So the people here does not look at the boy, do not look at the boy, do not smile at the boy, and they are always looking at the wall vacantly, not facing each other. There also, he was feeling very awkward. Next page, we will move into the next part of it. We have now this fat lady who is very interesting. What happens over here? One morning, the elevator stopped at the 14th floor and a lady got in. She was wearing an old green coat that ballooned around her as she waddled into the elevator. So somehow she managed to move into the elevator with her huge body. And Martin was sure he felt it sink under her weight. She was so big that her coat brushed against him and he had to squeeze himself into a corner. There was no room for anybody else. So we see that this lady was very huge, had a huge body, she had a huge shape, and when she entered the lift, the boy was also incapable, but it was very difficult for the little boy as well to stand inside the lift because there was a crunch of space. There was no room for anybody else. The door closed quickly behind her, and instead of facing it, she turned around and stared at Martin. Imagine I enter the elevator like this. Now after the elevator door closes, I generally, what do? I turn around and face the door of the elevator so that when the elevator stops, I reach the point, I can get out from there. But the lady, very strangely, she does not turn around. She just comes inside and stands like this, facing the boy. Facing like the boy straight at his face, okay? So that makes the boy feel quite kind of awkward. What is this behavior? Why are you looking at my face? Okay, because we have this basic tendency that we no longer face people, we look away from people, we don't smile at the people. I remember I told you the story a few years back when I was teaching class 10. Maybe you haven't heard it because you are not this batch. So I told this story that there was a boy who wanted to commit suicide, and he wrote in a paper that if anybody smiles when I'm walking the bridge, if anybody smiles at me, I will not attempt this suicide. I will not commit suicide. But nobody smiled at him. This tells us how people have become distant from each other, not social at all. So here also we are so much accustomed with this that nobody will smile at us, nobody will greet us. When somebody greets us with a smile, somebody looks at us at the eye, we feel very awkward. Okay, so that is what is happening with the boy probably, because we don't have any proper definition or any proper reason why this lady looks like that, okay, at the boy. Next, he looks at her for a moment. She had large fleshy cheeks and no chin, because if a person is fat, he will have no more chin, okay. So the chin is gone, just a huge mass of neck. Her blue eyes were tiny but sharp. They seemed to be boring into Martin's face. It's not boring like tiring. Okay, it's not like that. Boring means like a bore whale. It's going deep into it. When you look at somebody with boring eyes, it means that you can see what's happening inside that other person. Okay. Martin looked away, but the woman did not turn around. So although Martin looked away from the woman is facing him directly, eye to eye. He glanced at her quickly, then looked away again. She was still watching him. He wanted to close his eyes. He wanted to turn around and stare into the corner. But how could he? The elevator creaked down to 12, then 11. The piggy eyes were still looking at him. So if somebody is facing you like this, how can you look away from that person, right? And the lift is not opening. The lift will go down to the ground floor because this boy is going to school. So it is coming down from the 17th floor. So now it is reaching to the 11th floor. Why else would she stare at him like this? What was she going to do next? So he was kind of shocked that why is this person looking at me like that, so strangely, so awkwardly. She did nothing. She only watched him, breathing loudly until the elevator reached the first floor at last. Martin wanted to run past her to get out, but there was no room. She was so fat that there was no room for the little boy to pass from beside her. Okay, so he was locked there, and he had to wait till the time the lady moved out from the lift. Okay, next, he could only wait as she turned and moved slowly out into the lobby. So she turned slowly and she moved out to the lobby. Only then the boy could move. And when the boy moved out, he ran. He did not care what she thought, whether the lady would be feeling very awkward, why the boy is running and all that. He did not care about all that. He was too afraid, too awkward, so he ran away very fast. And where was he going? He ran nearly all the way to school. So he went to school from this moment. From this moment means from here directly, he went to school. So we will keep till here. There's another little bit of part. I think we are leaving it in a very interesting point. You will of course like it, because this is an interesting story and we all have our fears, right? In our life, we have many fears. We have to face our fears, and how this boy faces his fear, we will see in the next class, and how difficult it becomes for him, we will see in the next class. Let us meet in the next class again. We will continue with this topic on Thursday's class. So, bye-bye, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.